So why would you condition your happiness? That was the original insight of the Buddha. Life is suffering. Is there a way out of suffering? Yes, said Lord Buddha. He first lived as a prince, indulging in all luxury. He was overly protected also. The servants weren't allowed to let even a single dead flower around him. He was to be completely shielded from imperfections of life. He decides to escape with the servant out of the palace to take a ride in the city. He was completely flabbergasted at what he was seeing. There were old people with wrinkles. He had never seen an old person. And then he saw a person sick, ill, suffering. And he was wondering, what is that? He had never seen a sick person in his life. And then the fourth encounter that made such an impression on him was an ascetic person. Clearly he hadn't been eating in a long while, but he had such a big smile on his face. And that made a click in the Buddha's mind. This life in the palace, I won't find true happiness. So why would you condition your happiness? That was the original insight of the Buddha when he came to his awakening. Life is suffering. Illness, old age, death. We suffer because of it. Is there a way out of suffering? Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Millardo Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Tom. He's a meditation teacher. I know him personally from the Dhammakaya Institution. And welcome, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I did like a short introduction, but maybe you can give a better instruction. Who is Tom?
Tom is a Belgian, born from a Belgian father and a Polish mother. And as I embarked on a teacher career, I discovered that I wanted to learn more about the world, have a job that allowed me to navigate the world. Okay. So I ended up in international development. And after a personal confrontation in a quite literal way with my expectations or at least what I projected to be expectations from outside also on what success is, I found the most important journey, which is the journey inside myself. And that's how I came in touch with meditation. And since I would say 10 years almost, I have been meditating. I've also become a meditation teacher, like you said. And it's really a wonderful path of discovery where I'm now combining also this personal development practice with different professional areas. So also in my jobs, in my work as a coach, both as a consultant and as an employee, I try to connect the wisdom from within with the dynamics outside. So the path to self-discovery has also led me to discover my wife. Actually, we met during a meditation retreat in Thailand. Of course, going on a meditation retreat is not about meeting your wife. But we were, we connected quite well. We ended up being very good friends. We kept in touch. And half a year later, she came to visit me in Belgium. She's from Colombia. Okay. And interestingly, her son was born in France. So her son had reached the age, he was 12, 13 at the time, that, it was interesting enough for him to learn where he was born because he had never been to France. So my wife had planned, before we had met, to take him to Europe over the winter holidays. And I said to her, we're connecting so nicely over Skype. We were still using Skype at the time. Okay, And I said, why don't you come over and we have a live chat. And that's how I ended up inviting her and her son. And we really hit it off. And that was the beginning of now a wonderful marriage.
Wow, beautiful. So it started from the meditation retreat in Thailand. And what's the reason that from that experience that you want also to share and the light for the people that doesn't know these terms? Maybe you can also explain what meditation does. But what's the reason that you became a meditation teacher after participating?
Sure. Well, I would say I had quite a good life before starting to meditate. And people considered me a balanced person, someone who, all in all, really had it all together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet I felt something missing. something I couldn't really explain. And so I discovered meditation during a international conference where we had like a few meditation workshops, and I had heard about meditation before, but I had no clue what it was, how you ate it, how you cooked it. So I got the basics taught during those workshops, and I felt, yeah, nice practice from the playground, because it was very accessible. I want to do more of it. And so fortunately there was this online program, 42 days, where monks taught meditation, and it was also a lot about self-reflection. And I noticed some profound changes in myself over the course of those 42 days. I started smiling a lot more also, and people smiling back at me. You know, I used to walk to the train station when I was still living in Belgium to take the train to work. And that was one of those small but very interesting changes that I noticed. I became more aware of people, and people were also smiling when they saw me passing. And that didn't happen before. After those 42 days, the practice stayed with me. And that was another insight into meditation really does something good with me. Because I've done different practices before, but then the benefits weren't big enough for me to continue. However, with meditation, I felt something really transformational and balancing had come across my path, and I wanted to continue nurturing it. So without expectation, I just continued meditating until I got that opportunity to go to Thailand for 2 weeks. It was a special retreat because only about 33 participants were selected out of more than 600 that had presented themselves. Yet somehow there was this inner confidence. I said, doesn't matter how many people will present themselves, I'm confident I will be able to go there. And indeed, I got accepted, and I thought I was going to learn how to teach meditation during that retreat. But no, they said, hold your horses, doing 42 days online, great. But you're just starting, you need to go deeper. This first retreat was all about going deeper inside myself. And it was truly a very moving journey, you know, learning more about myself and experiencing also things I had never experienced before. I was like, wow, is this all what we can experience inside ourselves? And that was just the beginning, because there is so much more to discover. So over the next years, I continued meditating on my own. I did a few retreats now and then. And then the pandemic hit the world, and we were all locked down. In this teacher training, they organize it every year, but it was 3 weeks in Thailand, and I had a busy work life. I said, I can't make it. And so during the pandemic, we were all locked down, and they offered reduced version of the teacher training online. And my wife said, Tom, you have to do this. I think you will be a great teacher. And I was like, okay, why not? Let's give it a try. And indeed, I loved it. And you know, from the moment they gave me my certificate, I started guiding in Spanish, in Dutch, in English, and I really loved it. It's so beautiful to be able to share this with others. Yeah, that's how I became a teacher, because, well, you know, my original professional vocation was a teacher of Latin and Ancient Greek. I ended up giving away Latin and Ancient Greek. I said, no, I think I want to do something more contemporary. Yeah. But the teaching aspect is still with me, as a coach and as a meditation instructor.
Yeah. Wow. So you told me, like, before you did this, there was something missing. And I heard also like a lot of stories about people, you know, I've also like meditation experience. Can you like dive a little bit into that missing? Because people are also wondering like, what's the benefit, you know? And maybe you can also give like a key points that they maybe recognize with the missing parts that they are not aware at this moment.
I guess your question brings us to the most fundamental question of all. Who are we? What are we doing here? I think most of us, at some point or some points in our lives, we have had transcendental experiences. Experiences of feeling part of something bigger. Could be when sitting in a majestuous church and all of a sudden there's this sensation of dissolution into space, or in nature doing what you love to do and all of a sudden you come in the zone and it feels like you're just a vehicle for something that wants to express itself through you. People who are very artistic as well tend to have those experiences where, you know, if you look at the biggest artists of the world, they all share that same experience, that when they're at the height of their artistic creativity, it's no longer they as an individual being creative, but it's they have managed to tune in to this all-encompassing consciousness that is simply trying to transmit something. And they allow, in a way, it's by allowing their individuality to step aside, that they can connect with that greater self with a capital S, that then can express itself through them.
Mm-hmm.
So, no matter who you are, I think at some point in your life, at least you've had one of those experiences. And that is like an eye-opener. You realize there is more to life than just the story you've been fed when growing up at school about, you know, we get born, we die, and that's it. There are actually also quite a lot of people who have near-death experiences, and there are so many accounts of them sharing there is really something after we die. So, unconsciously, this greater self with capital S is yearning to be seen, to be recognized, to be remembered. I don't know if I step a bit too far.
Not at all for me.
But if you look at the Big Bang,
Yeah.
the Big Bang is unity becoming diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And that diversity, which is now in expansion, the universe is constantly going further and further.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, the astrophysicists say it's going to stop expanding and it's going to come back.
Okay.
And that's the meaning of remembering. Remembering. You were a member of one, and you want to come back to that state of oneness, of wholeness. So we're all parts scattered all over the universe, and deep inside us we know we are part of one. Yet our reality seems to contradict that. It's exactly the same contradiction we see between classical physics and quantum physics. In classical physics, everything is predictable. You have formulas and you can calculate the speed and the time, and you know when an object will hit it where. And those laws, they exist. Yet they also coexist with quantum physical laws. And at the quantum level, the tiniest level of the universe, that certainty, that predictability stops to exist. And we enter in the realm of endless possibilities. You know, the double split experience.
Definitely, yeah, I love that. Yeah. Still searching for the answer though, if you know the answer.
It's exactly because the observer conditions reality. So if we withdraw the observer from reality, all possibilities are there.
Wow, beautiful.
Wave and particle coexist. And so we experience those contradictions between classical physics and quantum physics in our daily lives, but we're rarely aware of them. And it's very hard to put them in words. But there is that tension. We live our lives as if we were immortal. We deny our own mortality. Yet at the same time, there is something inside us that indeed is immortal, that is yearning to be recognized, but not pretending that the human body itself is immortal, but by connecting to that piece that is immortal. And so we all come here with our luggage, a backpack filled with blockages, with weight. And life is all about getting rid of those knots, of the weight, the excess weight. Live a life that is lighter and thereby happier. And this connects to the 3 fundamental mental viruses that Buddhism teaches us. We all are about wanting, craving. I either want something I don't have, or I want to get rid of something I have and I really no longer want. It could be physical pain, it could be a stepfather, a stepmother, it could be a job situation that you hate. You want to get rid of it. And you want more money, you want more pleasure, you want more leisure. And you condition your happiness on those external states occurring or not occurring. If they occur, you're happy. If they not occur, you're not happy. But the moment they occur, you're yearning for something else. Because it's not the external that gives you full satisfaction if you're not satisfied with yourself. So why would you condition your happiness? That was the original insight of the Buddha, when the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, when he came to his awakening. Life is suffering. Illness, old age, death. We suffer because of it. Is there a way out of suffering? Yes, said Lord Buddha. When we no longer crave, when we can find happiness inside ourselves. So craving is one of the fundamental viruses of the mind. Then you have anger, resentment. Craving is typically about the future. It's about a future state. Yeah. Anger is about something from the past, something that already happened, and you want to undo. There's a beautiful saying that says that forgiveness is coming to terms that the past is the past, no longer giving up the desire to change the past.
So forgiveness is from the past? Can you repeat it one more time?
We forgive when we no longer hold on to the illusion that we can change or undo the past.
The past, yeah.
We recognize that what happened, happened, and you become at peace with it. Because the past has led you to being the person you are now. No matter what happened, how traumatic, it contributed to you being you. And typically the greatest gifts in a person's life are when that person is capable of finding peace in a traumatic event from the past. And being able to share that path with others. Yeah. Because so many people share the same source of suffering. Abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Being born with a handicap. There's so many possible small or big traumas in a life, and we struggle to come to terms with them. It is through that struggle, and often we resist recognizing that that past is part of who we are today, but it doesn't have to define us.
Would you also say like it's changing the observer? I always remembered like when we first met at the Dhammakaya institution, you wrote a 6, and you know, when you wrote a 6, you see the 6, and I see it as a 9, right? So it's actually like the observers how does the observer looks in the situation, and with these traumatic experiences, is it that like even though the trauma is still there, you only need to change the observer in order to find peace within the situation, right?
Right, you change perspective.
Exactly.
You change perspective. But the most fundamental shift, and this is something that deeper meditation experiences allow us to experience is that of a non-observer.
Ah, so you see it as meditation, because sometimes I think that when my meditation is deeper, there's another observer than the observer than at this moment. But you see it, there's a non-observer.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about it.
When your physical body dissolves, who or what remains?
Most people would say awareness, consciousness.
Yeah.
But
there is something very beautiful I read recently, and it is, and I say I read because I have maybe experienced very small parts of what this could be like. I recognize there's still so much more to go. In essence, we are all pure consciousness. Why do we not experience it? It's because of those mental viruses. Yeah? They're constantly reaffirming the notion of self with a small s, the notion that I'm an individual. The fact that we're talking to each other, that you're responding to me, there are so many signals that seem to reaffirm that you are someone different listening to me and interacting with me, so I reaffirm that I exist. I can even be in the illusion that you think greatly of me because you invited me to this podcast. And maybe you're nodding at me and I take this as, approbation or interest, and I start thinking big of myself. Whoa, I'm so important. Yeah, look at me. But this happens all the time. How often does it not occur in social spaces, at the workplace? Someone is upset because of maybe a difficult situation at home, and that person doesn't greet you. And you take it personal. You think, oh my God, this colleague, he or she really has it against me today. What did I do? I don't know, but this is eating me up inside me. I'm creating a whole story because I assume that that colleague not greeting me was personal. It had nothing to do with me. But I think of myself as being in the center of the universe. And that's the third big mental virus, that of ignorance, of delusion. We are all delusional. We think we exist separately of one another. But again, quantum physics has demonstrated that we are connected. There is no separation. So when we dissolve in non-self, as they call it, in that deep state of stillness, when we really are able to let our mind rest in our center and just observe, that's when we allow ourselves to experience that notion of non-self. And non-self means there is no observer. Because we simply experience consciousness, but in a way it's consciousness experiencing itself.
So you told me also a lot about quantum physics. You mentioned also like the double slit experiment. But are there experiments out there that isn't famous or commercial, which you can also correlate with meditation? Do you have some examples of that?
Meditation itself.
Meditation itself.
You have maybe heard of the Tibetan book of life and death. It is a part of Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, which has managed to study the mind after death, in between lives. What happens with the mind when we die? Did you know that our mind stays alive for another 30 minutes after our clinical death?
I saw somewhere else that there was like a transition time of 30 minutes from this world to another world, but I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, so the 4 physical elements decompose
Yeah.
until reaching the end of physical life at clinical death. But then we have 4 mental components that enter in a process of dissolution, and at those 30 minutes after dying, we experience pure consciousness, a bright light. Only for most of us, because we don't know and we're not aware that we can experience it, we don't see it. It goes like in a blink of an eye, and we missed an opportunity to get out of rebirth, because if we manage to stick with the light, we leave samsara. Yeah?
We leave
Samsara. Yeah.
I know like the term, but we can explain a little bit to
Samsara is the wheel of life, of rebirth. So in Buddhism, because we have those mental defilements, all the responses from those viruses, they are the ones obstaculizing us being pure consciousness. And the only way we can no longer be born again is when we become again that pure consciousness, where we no longer have those mental defilements, and we are always at peace. We see the world and life as is, and now not as we would like it to be. Wanting life to be as you would like it to be is the source of all unhappiness.
expectation, right?
Yes, expectation and wanting and craving and thinking that I am so important, I deserve a promotion, I deserve a holiday, I deserve a nice family. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, great Tibetan masters who know about that pure consciousness after 30 minutes, when they have managed to overcome most of these obstacles and defilements, when they die, they typically die meditating. Yeah? They are in a meditating posture. After they're pronounced clinically dead, they remain sitting in that posture without any external support.
Oh, really? So they just dead on that position
Yes.
for the entire time?
And typically, people start leaving the room then, so that the master can remain in peace. And after a week or so, some have shrunk, or some have completely disappeared, leaving only their teeth.
So you mean like the teeth is then laying on the ground, right?
Yes.
And within how many days would they disappear then?
No, they're forever, they're gone.
Okay.
So that is how you leave this realm. Yeah? That is how you know that this person was able to connect to that purest state of consciousness and no longer is attached to any of those viruses. Yeah.
So you want to leave to a world, I would not say heaven in Buddhism, right? But is it not nirvana? You want to leave those wheels in order to go to nirvana?
No.
No.
No. Nirvana is here and now.
Oh, okay. But there's another world? I don't know.
No.
I don't know what's in the
term. No. They become pure consciousness.
Yeah,
I mean, we all are pure consciousness, but they have lifted all veils and they remain pure consciousness. The fact that we get reborn is because we haven't lifted all veils. We are still under the spell of those viruses. So we still need to continue to purify ourselves. It's only when we have become completely pure, no longer attached to any worldly aspects, that we can say goodbye to this world forever. And so that's one of those experiments you probably have not heard of. But
no, I haven't heard it.
But there are so many examples, right? Meditation itself is the biggest experiment you can imagine.
And this is also like a little bit like paradoxical because meditation is about the now, but you do also like a lot of study and research about death, right?
Mhm.
What's what's the reason about that then?
Mm.
Is it in order to be here at the moment, in order to, also in the future, because the death's in the future, right?
Sure, sure. No, it's not to be in the future. Buddhism is, in essence, the study of the mind. And in the time of Lord Buddha, there were many great teachers, sages, yet all of them had failed to come to the final liberation. That is what the Buddha set apart of all those others. He first lived as a prince, indulging in all luxury. He was overly protected also. The servants weren't allowed to let even a single dead flower around him.
Oh,
he
really?
was to be
Okay.
completely shielded from imperfections of life, of the impermanence
Wow.
of life.
Yeah.
So when he decides to escape with the servant out of the palace to take a ride in the city, he was completely flabbergasted at what he was seeing. There were old people with wrinkles. He had never seen an old person because an old person confronted him with death. So he was never exposed to a person with wrinkles. What is that? It's an old person. It's because after so many years, you get those wrinkles. It's life experience. You're almost dying. And then he saw a person sick, ill, suffering. And he was wondering, what is that? He had never seen a sick person in his life. It's a sick person. Oh my God, suffering, so much suffering. And then they saw a corpse. What is that? It's a corpse, a dead person, no longer alive. Oh my God. And then the fourth encounter that made such an impression on him was an ascetic person.
Ascetic person.
Ascetic person, a person who had just loincloth,
Yeah.
just naked.
Yeah.
He clearly hadn't been eating in a long while, but he had such a big smile on his face.
Okay.
And Buddha asked, who's that? What? That's an ascetic. He deprives himself from all the good that there is, the apparent good, so that he can find happiness inside. And that made a click in the Buddha's mind. It was Gautama at the time. He hadn't reached yet the enlightenment, because that's what Buddha means, the enlightened one, the fully awakened one. And so the Buddha says, this life in the palace, I won't find true happiness here. I will go and walk the way of the ascetics. I'm going to explore what life is depriving myself of all worldly comfort. And so for 7 years, he went on a journey learning from the best of the best. It included burying himself in the ground and letting him being covered with ants for days days after days, hanging upside down from a tree, being able, crazy deprivations to be able to sharpen his ability to concentrate, and through that concentration find happiness. But after 7 years, he gave up. He said, I've tried it all and I didn't find ultimate happiness. I'm not there yet. And that's when he said goodbye to his friends who were practicing the same line of asceticism, and he went on his own path. And that's when, under that Bodhi tree, one night, he sat down and he said, either I become fully awakened or I will die.
Die, exactly. Yeah.
And it is in that night that he discovered that it was not about extremes. It was not about total luxury or zero comfort, total deprivation. It's about the middle way. Yeah, it's like playing the guitar, where he said the sitar. The chord has to be right tense. If it is too tense, it will not sound nice. If it is too untense, it will also not sound nice. It has to be exactly the middle spot, the soft spot. And not coincidentally, it was also the middle, the center of the body, where he finally was able to rest his attention and purify himself of all the remaining defilements that were left. Right? So now I forgot why I
No problem.
I started.
I wrote
because
it
of because of death, experimentation. Okay, the future, right? Okay, so in the Buddha's time, okay, that was a long side way, but an important one, to illustrate what it takes to become fully awakened. It is an experiential process. You have to experience it.
Yeah.
You can't read about it and then it happens. So at the time, no one else had reached that stage. And you will find so many stories where some of the most reputed scholars in religion, in spirituality, came to challenge the Buddha. And time and again, they found that the Buddha had all the answers they didn't have. So if you have such a person who has reached that end stage, and all the big spiritual leaders of the world are those persons, right? They say, I will show you the way. And there are persons who, just by hearing or even by being nearby such a person, are able to undo themselves of those last veils and become awakened ones. There are many others, and especially nowadays, because we are so disconnected from ourselves. We're so disconnected from ourselves with a capital S that it takes really a lot. It's like this onion that has so many layers, and we've added layers that prevent us from being in connection with our core, with our center. So it takes a lot more to reach to us, to illustrate what the true nature of ourselves is. And so Buddhism, having been able to experience through or thanks to a pure mind what reality is so generous. They share it with everyone. So they share how the mind works. They share what happens after we die. Not because it puts us in the future, but because all those teachings explain how the mind works, what the mind is, what causes suffering. Suffering is present. We all suffer at some point, in one way or another, all the time. So learning how no longer to suffer, those teachings come in many ways. And because death is such a universal event in life, and so many people are afraid of death, teaching about death helps us to learn how to act with that fear, how to recognize it as a fear for something we shouldn't maybe be afraid of. So it's not for us to long to the state after death, but it's about learning how to live. The human being is a blissful state for the mind, because it's actually one of the only realms where we can really prepare ourselves for so many scenarios, and we can meditate. Yeah, there's so many realms where we cannot meditate, and it is through meditation that we can purify the mind. So it's all about motivating us more and more to purify the mind, to find stillness within, because the last thought when we die will be the first thought as we get reborn. So if we die in anguish, in fear, imagine we're taking that through that intermediary state up to the next life. So it's about learning to be ready for that big moment which in many cases we're not even aware of it, because we either die in a sleep or maybe in an accident. Yeah? But how do you prepare yourself for the inevitable? And in that preparation, you discover the art of living.
By meditation.
By meditation, by calming the mind, by recognizing we don't need anything outside ourselves to be happy. It's all inside us. How can you learn to be happy in the here and now? No longer desiring to change your reality, accepting for what it is. Yeah. So all those teachings about future states or about the future are not about the future. They're about the present in essence. How can we be in the present happy?
It's funny because during this talk I found also like answers, right? Like the first question that I was asking about like the missing part, also like for the audience, is that you know, after a while you feel something missing, that's suffering, right? So recognize that suffering. And the second thing what comes in my mind about that is there was a story once about a mother who was very secure with her children, so she didn't want her daughter to go to the graveyard. But later on she would suffer because of the protectiveness of the mother, right? So it's actually I found the answer that like what's the reason that you exposed or research on that is also exposed. That's the reality also. So you told also about the center of the body, and I think this is also like an, which I didn't knew, but by the way, about Buddha, that the center of the body. But I know also a lot of teachings from other branches of Buddhism, they don't talk about this center of the body. Can you maybe explain them what's that center of the body?
So the center of the body in Dhammakaya refers literally to the center of the body, which is 2 finger widths above the navel, in the intersection front to back, left to right, in the middle of your body. And that is where we gently lead our attention towards, and we try to maintain it there. Because it is the gateway to stillness and to discovering the true nature within ourselves. There exist many other techniques that do not emphasize the center. That's because the Buddha, in all his wisdom, tailored his messages to the audience. Because he knew reality as is, he knew that when he was talking to you, he should use a different language than when talking to your brother, to your mother, or to your neighbor. And so he always connected his teachings to his audience. And that is why very different roads to Rome were laid out in the teachings of the Buddha. And it's from there also that many different traditions and techniques have arisen. In essence, they all lead to the same objective, stillness and happiness inside, right? Undoing all the defilements, getting rid of all the defilements. We practice and putting the attention in the center because it's also a safe space inside us. You know, mindfulness is very trendy in the past 10, 15 years. It has really boomed. The word in Pali, the language of the Buddha, for mindfulness is sati. And sati literally means being with the mind inside the body. So no matter what the technique is, it is fundamental that you stay with the mind inside, not outside. And there are some techniques that focus more on the bodily sensations, on scanning the body, or simply observing the respiration. These are all good techniques. However, the added value of focusing just on the center is that you learn to be quiet and still. You really learn to rid your mind of distractions And that stillness is the key to awakening. They even talk about stillness within the stillness. And so when we meditate in the center, we can connect with the center of the center. There are many layers like that. And that's a whole journey. Right? How do we know that we should focus the attention on the center? Because thousands and millions of others have done so before us, and they have shared experiences. So it no longer becomes experimental when millions of people following the same technique have similar journeys within. They pass through different milestones, and they're able to share that and recognize, yes, I've also experienced this. And that's how you gradually go deeper and deeper. And yeah, we're very grateful to the great master who rediscovered this technique, Pramankoltep Muni.
Oh, that's from him. Oh.
Yes, because this was a technique taught in the first discourse of the Buddha that he gave to his 5 friends after having become enlightened, fully awakened. And he mentions the center as being the gateway to pure consciousness. However, because this particular wisdom got diluted over the centuries after his death, and up to the moment that it completely had vanished, there were many scriptures talking about the center. But no one no longer understood the true meaning of it. And it was Pramankoltep Muni who, as a monk, he was very avid. He wanted to learn more and more. He had studied all the texts, and he felt at some point really frustrated that his masters were no longer able to guide him further. And so he was an avid practitioner of meditation. He meditated a lot. And then one morning, he managed to experience stillness in his center. And there was this bright crystal ball that appeared. And interestingly, when the gong sounded to go for lunch, he opened his eyes, he went to the refectory, and he still experienced that crystal sphere inside himself. So that was for him like an aha moment. He was like, I'm onto something. With no other technique have I been able to continue in this state, even with my eyes open. And so that evening, he made the same vow as the Buddha made in that memorable night. He said, I'm going to find out the truth about the center, about the crystal ball in my center, or I will die. And it is in that night that he also then experienced so much more. He really was able to enter the center, open the gateway through so many more centers inside.
Oh, wow.
And that's when he knew, right, okay, I finally understand. I finally understand what the center means, what all those texts that talk about the center, what they meant. I've seen the light. Yeah, it's a common expression that we say now. I doubt he would have said that, but
but crystal ball is a light, right? So there was like a huge discussion when I was in Thailand, also in the monastery. The lay people and other people that staying in the monastery, that if that is the technique that Buddha have experienced, because in Vipassana is a different experience, and the teacher in Vipassana, Gunkar, also mentioned how he got enlightened under the tree because of Vipassana.
Yes.
But it makes sense though, but I never heard the reason how he get of the center of the body. I never heard it before.
The connection with Vipassana is being able to observe your sensations without attaching to them, right? And so when you are still in the center, it can be that you experience still different sensations. However, you no longer attach to those sensations. You no longer get disturbed by them. It's like when you're in the movie theater and you're watching a movie and there are all these different images, and you know that the images will change on their own. You don't have to do anything. You just sit back, relax, and enjoy. And that's the essence of meditation, learning to just no longer do anything and observe the impermanence of each and every single sensation. Yeah? And when you are able to pierce through all sensations, it's like you're in the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is the center of the storm, and you think it's the most tormentuous, tempestuous experience. But it's pure stillness in the eye of the storm. Yeah? And that's exactly that experience.
Oh, wow, cool. You also like mentioned, when you're talking with the Buddha, even though Buddha many years died ago, that in the moment he knows what kind of language you would speak, right?
Yes.
And the other teacher who also rediscovered the center, because most of the time when people meditate, it's only like an experience, right? You meditate, close your eyes, you feel good, open your eyes, and then you go back into the world. So how do you get that experience of, focusing on the center of your body, but take that along during your daily life? Can you maybe dive a little bit more into that?
They teach very different types of exercises that help you to maintain awareness of the center. Because like I said, when you really manage to connect with that crystal sphere, it stays there with you. It's always there, right? However, our day-to-day life distracts us all the time. It steals our attention outside of ourselves. That's why we are no longer mindful. So mindfulness can be nurtured through connecting with the center all the day. When you wake up, you can connect with the center. Remind yourself of that harbor of inner peace inside yourself. That gives you energy to also blind yourself from too many negative experiences throughout the day, not to get too distracted. As you do regular routines like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, you can learn to experience reality like on two screens. The outside world is 80% of your attention, but you can still remain with 20% of your attention with the center inside you. And if you manage to connect with the center throughout the day, when you eat, for example, you can imagine that all the food goes down to the center and you reconnect with the center. You can identify round objects, white, pure objects that you see. Sometimes it's a light bulb or it's a vase, or there's so many objects, and you can say, oh, it reminds me of the center. So your mind goes back to the center.
Yeah.
And by doing these activities regularly, by practicing, you limit the amount of trash that your mind collects, the amount of defilements because you respond to your viruses, and it helps to continue the state of calm, of peace during meditation throughout the day. Meditation in essence is brushing your teeth, but for the mind. We don't question brushing our teeth twice, 3 times a day. But how often do we clean our mind? Rarely, right? And so the same as when you would clean your house. When you do this once a week, then dust will accumulate, but it will be easy to take away. When you don't do it for a month or 2 months in a row, it becomes sticky, it becomes greasy, and they have to put a lot more effort into cleaning. So the same applies to the mind, and if during the day we avoid there being more dust and grease accumulating, then it becomes all the easier to sweep the mind clean from what happened during the day, and then continue sweeping it clean from what has been there from the past.
Yeah. Wow, we almost wrapping it up, but within 1 hour we talked about that. We talked about meditation, also very advanced, but also for beginners. Can you maybe also like show us or tell us like what is your mission with meditation? Like where you want to go, within 5 years or 10 years? What's your vision about it?
I aspire to go deeper within, to be able to maintain that state for longer periods, not only in meditation, also outside meditation. It's about getting rid of more defilements and seeing what else is there to discover. With the experiences I've had during retreats, because typically in a retreat is when you're able to go deeper. Yeah? The regular meditation is great, but you need every now and then those moments where you can isolate yourself from the outside world and literally from the garbage that we are exposed to day in, day out, and also dedicate more time to meditation. That is what allows you to go deeper. And so I've had some really interesting experiences. And then I hear the teaching monks talk about, the different processes, stages in meditation. And it's like, oh, you're still, you're just playing with the doorknob, getting the door open. I'm like, oh my God, how much more can there be? Yeah. So I know there is so much more to discover.
Oh, wow.
And it's sometimes even frightening, Like, I can't imagine how my life would be having reached deeper inside experiences. Because those transform you. You can no longer continue being the person you are. So it can even be frightening, right?
Exactly.
Because you're so used and hung up on the life you have. Yeah. We all long for certainty, and finally, you more or less have it all figured out, and then, bam, it can change again. But that's where also trust in the process comes in, because all these changes have been transformational for the good. The lighter and happier you are, the more you can share that also with others. And at the end of the day, it's part of that mission, and that's also why I have become a meditation instructor, because I want to share it with others. It would be selfish to keep it to myself, because there's still so much suffering in the world. And the best way to contribute is, first and foremost, leading by example. If people see the transformation I can accomplish with myself, they may be inspired to do something similar themselves. You cannot force people to meditate. You cannot force people to change. But you can make it enticing.
And I think also when you teach your meditation, so the things that you want to accomplish, even you will get a reward because you're sharing the light. And I also remembered a story about Buddha and the tiger, and so that you have so much trust, and it's also terrifying that it's also letting go, right? Meditation is also about letting go. That the Buddha, maybe you can share that story, that he trusted himself, that he encountered this lion or whatever.
Right. Before I tell the story, it's important to know that we can accumulate merit by doing good deeds. Tolerance, patience, renouncing from prestige, from comfort. These are all acts that give you peace points, so to say.
Okay.
And when we reach the top of the jar in which those peace points are collected, then we become ready to reach to that stage of full liberation. And when I got to understand that, and that's where the story of Buddha and the tiger connects, in this world of meditation, there are so many people who really are eager to reach that state of liberation in this life.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a noble ambition, but it's important to recognize, and so thereby also not to become frustrated if we don't reach it, is that it has taken many thousands of lives before of accumulation of those peace coins, of those peace points, to reach the state when we are ready to really become fully awakened. And the illustration that I give is about the life before Prince Gautama. He was also he was a different prince, and together with his brother he went hunting. And they got lost in the forest, and all of a sudden, you know, the Buddha got lost on his own. He and his brother got separated, and there he is, face to face with a starving tiger. And instead of shooting the tiger, causing harm, right, killing a living being, he just gave himself to be the lunch of the tiger, saying, "May the tiger feed himself on me so he no longer suffers starving." So imagine the level of renunciation it takes to really become fully awakened. So it helps you put in perspective. I don't say we all have to throw ourselves in front of a tiger, because of course it's all about intention. If I throw myself in front of a tiger saying, "Oh, I hope this tiger eats me and I can become enlightened in the next life," you're craving. Your intention is wrong. The intention of the Buddha was, may the liar no longer suffer from starvation. Full stop, nothing else. Okay, interesting, huh?
Definitely, yeah.
I think that it teaches us especially to focus on our awareness of all the intentions of the deeds that we do in this life. And already reducing the amount of defilements, reducing the amount of noise that our minds creates in our daily life is already a very big intention when we meditate. So whatever comes will come. Just like the stillness in the center, a lot of people think meditation is about, you know, a blank mind and complete stillness. It is the destiny, but it's not the usual meditation experience, because we have a lot of thoughts. In Tibetan, meditation means, the word in Tibetan for meditation is becoming aware of yourself.
I thought it was to be familiar with.
Yeah, becoming familiar with yourself. And so, how are you day in, day out? And most people will say, a mess. So that mess is what you encounter when you start to meditate. And that's what people then think, oh no, I'm not able to reach that stillness, so this is not for me. Not to the contrary, but you're becoming familiar with that mess, and then gradually you learn to accept it. And the moment you start accepting it, the easier it will become to find stillness. So stillness and the center, reaching that requires the opposite of what we are taught in our day-to-day lives. We're taught that by doing more, you will achieve more. Meditation is achieving more by doing less. And that's why it's so difficult for many people, because we're not taught this. However, doing less, stopping, is the key to success, said the great master. Stopping is the key to success. So it's about no longer wanting, no longer craving, no longer forcing, and you will get there when you're ready. And it can happen in the blink of an eye, or it can take many years before you've experienced that stillness. That's part of our journey.
Yeah, but it's also beautiful. Like stopping is by going into the stillness, which is meditation, right? What I found it very beautiful about this conversation also before is like the stories that like you have unique stories which I never heard before. Like where do you get these stories from?
I'm an avid student of the mind, and so there's many courses, classes, books, and bits and pieces stay with me. The beauty of having clarity is that it becomes easier to recognize what is true and what is not. So that's also why with my wife it was so easy, even though we hadn't met each other for a long time, but after dating a few months we said, okay, I'll just come and live with you because I feel this is it. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that clarity then makes it easier to distinguish which teachings hold the essence of truth and which ones not so. And when they are teachings that vividly illustrate some points that make sense for me, I'm eager to share. And that's also why you will hear people telling different stories, because I share what resonated with me. You will share what resonated with you. And that's how we end up with so many different shapes and shades of Buddhism, of meditation techniques. Because at the end of the day, there are many roads that lead us to that stillness. It's up to us to keep on searching until we find a path that we really resonate with. And that we can say, great, this works for me. Now I'm ready to dive deeper.
Beautiful. And if people like from the audience resonates with you, can you like maybe tell them like how could they find you?
Right, sure. I post every now and then on social media at Tomstructives, and I have a YouTube channel with the same handle at Tomstructives, where I have loads of meditations, especially in Spanish and in Dutch. Slowly working also on the English repertoire.
Okay.
And people can contact me for personalized accompaniment. Besides those public teachings and the recordings that are available, I also have an online course. There is the online course from the Dhammakaya Institute, and happy to guide people through learning how to find a way towards happiness inside. Yeah.
I think it's also very beautiful and unique that when I went to the Dhammakaya institution online, it was free, right? So people that want to do meditation, which they never did before, they just can register, right?
For sure, indeed. So if you're based in the Netherlands or in Belgium and you speak Dutch, you can you can subscribe there. There are also the meditations, weekly meditations in English of Dhammakaya Europe. There are so many resources online. The art of meditation, the wisdom, has been shared for free. And that's very important, right? Of course, we live in the world we live, and unless you decide to become a monk, renouncing on all your worldly possessions and depending on what people give to you, but of course they give because you are a monk, especially in cultures who have that tradition, you can live. But we are laymen, and so of course we also need to earn an income so that we can pay for food, rent and whatnot. So that is why I try to strike a balance between free offerings, part of, let's say, the giving back, returning everything that I've learned. But there's also a part which is paid, depending on also your options, your resources. But it's definitely worth investing a bit also in personalized coaching, because sometimes the obstacles to going to a level deeper in your meditation can be very small, very silly, like meditation posture or the way you breathe or where your attention goes when you get distracted. And so it can be very beneficial that you get that feedback. It's one of the key elements also in growing in meditation, being able to share with someone who has more experience so that that person can give you feedback. Try to do this, go there, go there.
Yeah, beautiful. And they can do it then from that online, and they, you coach them because you're the teacher on the online platform. I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Wonderful.
You wanna share something in one sentence, like to the audience, or just want to wrap it up?
Well, I think the key messages I just shared recently, which is never give up searching. There is a way that will resonate with you, and keep on practicing. Keep on practicing, because it's about continuity and trusting that even though you may not see immediate results, the results will manifest themselves sooner or later, right? So, be happy.
Be happy. Thank you. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you, Tom, for inviting us at your place in Belgium. Tomorrow you're leaving to Colombia.
Yes.
Wish you all the best, and
Thank you so much.
see you next time.
Thank you, Rain, for having me.